Hi everyone, it's Sandy, and today I'm making a video telling you guys the books that I want to read in 2015. Most of the books on my list are books that have been sitting on my bookshelf for a really long time, or I've been dying to read but never got around to reading them. So that's why I'm making this list, to give myself more of a motivation to read these books. I have 14 books on this list, and one of them I've already read because I just been dying to read it forever, and I'm gonna start off with that book, and that book is Slammed by Colleen Hoover. I love Colleen Hoover. She's a fantastic writer, and the Slam trilogy are the only books that I haven't read from her, but I read it this month, and I read the entire trilogy within like 4 days. I could have read them all in 3 days or less, but I had school, so that kind of took time away from reading. I knew that just because Colleen Hoover wrote it, I knew that I was going to love it, and I did. I'll talk more of my thoughts on the entire Slam trilogy in my January wrap-up, but for now, I'm just gonna say that I love it. The next book that I want to read is Through the Evernight by Veronica Rossi. I read Under the Never Sky earlier in 2014, and I just never got around to reading Through the Evernight, mainly because I didn't own it. But if you saw my December book haul, which is like my book outlet unboxing, I purchased this book, which means I now am able to read it. I've just heard so many great things about the Under the Never Sky trilogy, and I read the first book and I really enjoyed it, and I've been wanting to read and finish the rest of the trilogy. So this is definitely one of the top series / trilogies that I want to finish in 2015. The next book is The Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey. This is the sequel to The Fifth Wave, and this book came out in September. And one of my main reasons for not picking this book up right away is that I forgot what happened in The Fifth Wave. And I keep telling myself that I'll reread The Fifth Wave before getting to this book, but knowing me, I am not a big rereader, so I'll most likely not reread The Fifth Wave, and I'll just jump into this book. Most sequels that I read, I don't really remember much of what happened in the previous book, but I read it anyways, and eventually things will start coming back to me, so hopefully that works out. And another reason why I'm kind of putting this off is that I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this book. Some people really like it, some people didn't love it as much, so that's kind of putting me off from reading it. And the next book that I want to read is Let's Get Lost by Adi Al-Said. Adi Al-Said? Adi Al-Said. Adi Al-Said. I don't know how to say this. The next book that I want to read is Let's Get Lost by I keep saying Aldi. It's not Aldi. The next book that I want to read is Let's Get Lost by Adi Al-Said. Hopefully I pronounced that name right. Contemporary books are my go-to read just because they're really easy to read and it doesn't require that much thinking, I guess. Say I had to read a fantasy book, I gotta learn how the world works and those new terminology. But with contemporary books, they're not like that, and they're just very fun and easy to read. The next book that I want to read is Catch a Falling Star by Kim Culbertson. I won this book in a giveaway sometime in the summer, and it has been sitting on my bookshelf ever since. So I really want to get to this book, and I'll most likely read it sometime during the summer. The next book is These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is a book that I have been dying to read, but I couldn't read it because I didn't own it, and now I finally have a copy. And I got this book in January, and I probably won't be doing a January book haul since this is the only book that I got. So yeah, this is my January book haul basically. And I actually got this, I'm in this book club, and we did like a Secret Santa thing, and we did it right before winter break, so we couldn't give our books to our person until January. So I got this book in January, and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to read it for a really long time. I don't remember reading a book that took place in space, and I know that this book does, so I think that'd be really cool and fun to read about. The next book is Fire with Fire by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. I really want to read this book because I read Burn for Burn sometime in 2014. I did enjoy it. It's not like a favorite book of mine. Honestly, this book isn't a book that I really want to read. I liked Burn for Burn, but I didn't love it. And after reading Burn for Burn, I didn't really have like a desire to pick this book immediately right after. I got this book at Half Price Books, so it was like $6 or so. And another reason for me not wanting to read it right away is because it's a pretty big book. Like compared to Burn for Burn, this book is pretty thick. I do want to get rid of this book on my TBR, so that's why I want to read this in 2015. The next book is Across the Universe by Beth Revis. I've had this book on my bookshelf and on my to-reads list for a really long time, and I decided that I should just get to it in 2015. And this is another book that takes place in space, so that's really cool. The next book that I want to read is The Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings. I have owned this book for a really long time and I just want to get to it. I really like the premise of this book where the death rate is higher than the birth rate. I think that's really interesting and I'm really excited to pick this book up actually. The next book is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the third and final book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and I don't own this book, but I do really want to complete the trilogy. I've already read the first two. I thought they were okay. I gave them both like 3.5 stars, and I just want to finish the trilogy. You know, like I've already put in the effort to read the first two. I might as well just finish the trilogy. Another book that I don't own but really want to read is Crash Into You by Katie McGarry. Crash Into You is the third book in the Pushing the Limits companion series, and it follows Isaiah and some girl. I don't know her name. I really enjoyed the first two books in the Pushing the Limits companion series, and I really want to catch up in that series. Well, I know a lot of people say that it's their favorite, so hopefully it'll become a favorite of mine too. The next book is another contemporary book, and it is Reason to Breathe by Rebecca Donovan. This has been on my bookshelf for a really long time. On Goodreads, it has a really high rating, and I know Cassidy Von Shea loves this book, and so I bought it, and I have not gotten around to reading it clearly, mainly because the book, again, it's a really big book, so it's kind of intimidating to read, especially since it's a contemporary book, and I don't read that many contemporary books that are like over 400 pages. I'm not so sure how many pages this book has, but it's a lot. So I really want to get to this book. The next book is Partials by Dan Wells, and like most of the books on this list, I've had it on my bookshelf for a really long time but never got around to reading it, and I hope to read it sometime in 2015. And the last book on this list is Steel Heart by Brandon Sanderson. I have never read a Brandon Sanderson book, and I've heard so many great things about him, especially with the Mistborn trilogy, and I know Reagan from Peruse Project talks highly of him, and I just really want to read it. This will be my first Brandon Sanderson book. I'm not so sure what this book is about, but I do know that it takes place in Chicago, and I live in Chicago, so I think that's really cool. That is it for the books that I want to read in 2015. What books do you want to read in 2015? If you have any similar books that you want to read, maybe we can buddy read them together. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!